Hello guys, Deathtrooper with you here. Today's cast is the most intense 1 vs 1 I've ever played in my life. Or at least very recently anyway. So this video is not going to be pros, but it is going to be myself, high level diamond play. Myself here, red Terran, Deathtrooper, spawning in the bottom middle. And over here we have my enemy ALKS, blue Terran, spawning in the left middle. And I would like to point out this ALKS person is ranked 23 diamond and has over 2,000 points. So it is pretty highly ranked. I only have 300 points in 1v1. I don't play 1v1 very often, so my ranking is a little lower. I'm surprised the system placed me against someone that much significantly higher, but this is just an epic game. I had to cast it, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. It is going to be a Terran versus Terran. I personally find mirror matchups of all races to be pretty boring, playing and watching. And when this match first started, I was thinking in my head, oh no, great, another Terran versus Terran, boring match going to be coming up. But it actually turned out to be a really exciting, really rewarding game for me anyway. And so let me know what you guys think after watching it all. So I am scouting around right here. This is my scout, and we have him scouting in the correct direction right off the bat on me. I'm just doing so far standard build against Terran. I get barracks and then gas. Against Zerg and Protoss, lately all I do is 3 racks Marine Rush, and I do not get the gas. I get a second barracks and then a third barracks instead. So that's why this build differs. Shortly here I should be getting the orbital and then putting my guys on gas. Now you should note this player had his gas up a lot earlier than mine, and the trade-off, I will have an earlier orbital command, as well I have some Marines producing and my second supply depot. He has no second supply depot, no Marines producing, and a later orbital command. So that is the trade-off. Everything in this game has a sacrifice. So it can be said, when I first saw this with my scout here, I thought, okay, I'm way ahead of this guy. I've got my orbital sooner. He has no Marines out. And then I noticed he threw down the factory, and I was like, what the hell? How does he possibly have that? Because I myself am rushing to get the factory as fast as I can, and I didn't have 100 gas until just now. So I figured, okay, he must have gotten a really early gas. So I was kind of expecting, in the back of my head, maybe expecting Banshees. So anyway, I threw down my factory right away. Pretty much Terran versus Terran comes down to siege tank and Vikings. You can attempt really early Marine Marauder pushes and things like that, but for the most part, once siege tanks are out, it basically comes to a battle of who has the most siege tanks and Vikings. So anyway, I'm holding the watchtower here, always good to do. So I have a nice range of vision. You can see my vision here on the map. It's pretty significant. My opponent here not opting to go for the watchtower. I'm kind of thinking in my mind, okay, I'm probably better than this guy. I seem to have better timings and stuff like that. But I'm not going to assume anything, because that's how you lose. But of course, ahead of time during this game, I had no idea what his actual skill level or rank was. So I just played it as I play every game, as best I can. So basically, we see the production here. He is already getting a Viking, and I'm opting for the siege tank first. Siege tank, and then I'll probably get siege mode as soon as I have 100 minerals right here. I'm expecting, yes, boom, there it is. And he's getting the Viking first. Now I believe I scanned him. I'm not sure if I missed that part or if I do it soon. But anyway, I do remember scanning him around this point in time and noticing the starport. However, I also noticed that there was no tech lab, so I immediately knew, yeah, here's my vision, so I have seen the starport, but no tech lab, so I knew there was no threat of immediate Banshees. But I still kept in my mind the possibility that Banshee could come. He could easily build a tech lab, so this guy is probably going to make the E-Bay, and there it is, engineering bay. You need to get turrets, you need to get detection, unless you already have a starport of your own out and can afford to produce a Raven and a Viking to thwart Banshees. But regardless, even when you push out, you'll want some kind of static defense, so one Banshee can't just come in and clean up your whole mineral line. So anyway, he kind of did a mini push. I forgot to note that there. I think he pushed in with a Hellion, and it didn't even get up my ramp. My Marines thwarted it, so he fell back. Now I've decided to push out. I like this timing personally. 2 siege tanks with siege mode complete, and all the Marines that I have at this point in time. So this is pretty much a standard push I make against most races if I don't opt for the Marine rush. So here I am. We'll see an absolute brutal mistake here. My vision is actually focused on my base, and I'm not even paying attention to where my units are going. I didn't have vision up there, and I misplaced my units. I completely lost everything and literally killed nothing. So I even noted here, wow, so I nuked out. I didn't siege my tanks. I could have walked around up here where he wouldn't have seen and be able to get all those free shots. I could have had a better setup here to push up the ramp, but that was just a total fail attack, total mistake on my part. I wasn't watching, and that's what I get for looking at my base and macroing while just moving my army across the map. So now he's pushing out. I actually expected him immediately to push out. Let's look at the APM meters here. We're seeing our averages are actually very close, and at this point in time I'm kind of in a panicky kind of mode, throwing down missile turrets in case of the Banshees, and also because of the Vikings. I'm also trying to pump out more siege tanks. I already have one sieged up on the ledge, and I'm going to siege another one here. So now if he makes the same mistake as me, he'll get hammered by sieges as well. And he in fact does do the exact same mistake I did, except he notices it and actually pulls his units back a little bit more. He also has Vikings, which give him vision, which I didn't have at the time. So he's setting up here. My tank's already in range and hammering away. So I actually kill one tank, and I kill the second tank before he can even kill mine. So far in this engagement, I've lost nothing, and he's lost 2 tanks, and he might even lose this Viking. I went for it, I focus fired it, but he microed it away. He's got good control there. I'm trying to utilize these Hellions against my Marines, but he can't get in on the siege tanks. I've thrown down this command center here to expand. I know that I've beaten him to the natural, and I had thrown this down ahead of time in anticipation. And here I'm throwing down bunkers because I know that in order to get this command center, I've taken a sacrifice on my actual military value. So I've decided I definitely need to get some Vikings out. I need to outvision his tanks. I cannot just sit here and rely on scans and whatnot. So I'm getting the reactor on my starport so I can just start pumping Vikings like that. I have turrets and scans to rely on detection, so I'm not worried about getting a Raven to thwart Banshees, especially since I haven't seen any Banshees yet at this point. So now I'm getting both my gases up. That's very important to get that up as soon as you get your natural set up. And I fill my bunker and siege my tanks. Spreading your tanks out like this is also very advantageous. You don't want to leave your tanks clumped up so that they can just be prone to a drop or just an easy run in and snipe. If you spread them out like this, it makes them harder to attack from all directions and all angles, and they can't just merely be destroyed in one kind of shot. So as you can see, he has 2 tanks, a bunch of Marines, and 3 Vikings. I have 4 tanks and a little bit less Marines and no Vikings. So our army values, our army compositions are slightly different. However, I would say I'm in the better position because I have siege tanks, although I don't have the Vikings for vision, so he's in an okay position as well. Now he's also expanded. I'm not sure if I've scouted this yet. No, I haven't. And has he scouted mine? Yes, he has. So scouting is a key part of this game and a key part of everything, so I'm probably going to take one of these Vikings here soon and scout around the map just to make sure he didn't take any golds or any other expos up at the top or sides that I didn't know about. So here I go, sending my Vikings around on a little patrol around the map. And we can just see here, just building up, throwing down more factories. Now that I'll have this fully saturated, I'm going to have a much higher income. You need to be able to produce all of your resources at all times. You can't just queue things up 100 times and rely on that. So as you can see, I'm trying to spend all my resources and build as many buildings as necessary, pumping out some Vikings, and just trying to catch up in Viking count at least, and keep pumping siege tanks. That's also very important. Never stop making siege tanks in Terran vs. Terran. So here I've scouted around a fair amount. I know that recently he hasn't had any of these expos all in these areas here. So we're going to see what I'm going to do here. And I also expect at this point that he does have a natural up. So we'll see if I opt to go for any kind of harass with these Vikings or not. We'll see what I do with them. And here we go. Just kind of noticing here my APM spiking a little bit. So macroing and microing here at the same time now. Landing over here, he has no missile turrets and no units in position, so I actually get four, maybe five, actually looked like three kills, but I lost the Vikings. My plan was to lift off and fly away. I didn't react fast enough. His army was actually in a great position to just respond immediately, so I lost those Vikings. So that was definitely not worth it. I lost 2 Vikings, which is like 50 gas and 200 minerals, in exchange for actually 300 minerals, sorry, and 125 gas in exchange for 3 SCVs. As well, I've thrown up a sensor tower here. Now, I like this, and a lot of Terran players, including pros, don't do this often enough, is use sensor towers. They're incredibly useful, especially when you're in adjacent positions like this on a 4-player map, because now I can see at any time if he's coming from a drop from the bottom, the side, anywhere he comes, I will see it in advance and have notice to pull back some of my units, because obviously everything's going to be at the front. So now I have a nice amount of tanks here. We'll see how many I have. It looks like 8. I'm going to make a push out here, and he has dropped with Vikings up in the back by my supply towers, supply depots rather. I don't care, I'm going. I have a nice amount of Vikings myself. He sees this, he lifts off and decides to retreat. So he did kill 2 supply depots, but he didn't do any real significant damage. As you can see, I'm still not even really supply blocked, so that wasn't too bad, and I probably do throw down a couple more supply depots here in a minute. Anyway, let's watch the battle here. That's more exciting. I like to set up a tank in the back in case I overextend myself. I can always retreat. That tip was taught to me by a good friend, Kono. He's got some pretty good skills. Here I leave my tanks pumped up. That's because I did overextend them and push too far forward with them. Normally I like to stagger them, as I mentioned, but I was already getting hammered by siege tank shells, and so it was too late. I actually lost a lot of those tanks and didn't kill too much, but him pushing in there and stimming did damage his army a little bit, and this tank in the back did get a few kills there. So I did do some damage. However, this is a huge ball that I really didn't do enough damage to, and it's now coming at me immediately right now. I need to set up all the remaining tanks I have, which I'm drastically doing. Luckily, my 2 factories was able to replenish my tank count really quickly, and I actually probably at this point have more tanks than he actually has. If we look here, I have 7, he has 4, so I actually almost double his tank number. He does have Marine Marauders though, but I don't recommend this in TVT for this very reason. All these Marine Marauders run in stim. Sure, they snipe 1, maybe even 2 tanks, but they absolutely just got demolished. This tank has 3 kills. I'm sure the ones that died had plenty more. And now I'm hammering away at his tank over here. I'm having to use my scans for vision because he has air superiority with the Viking campaign. Foolishly, he flies his Vikings in, overextends them. My Marines get free shots and free kills. And that was just a mistake. I guess he was trying to land them on the siege tanks, but didn't do that properly. And anyway, that was a big fail. And here we are. My Vikings actually shoot down that medevac, so that got destroyed. And I killed all the 3 units inside there, and I believe those were actually Vikings in there. And I did not know you could put a Viking in a medevac. That's pretty crazy. Anyway, so he kind of did some damage. He destroyed my bunker. He killed a couple tanks, but for the most part, I held that off with very little losses. I didn't take any kind of large economy hit, and now I'm using my extra minerals to expand again. Constantly macroing. I've decided to throw down a second barracks and make sure I get the stim and shield upgrade myself. These upgrades are essential late game. You cannot have unshielded and unstimmable Marines in the late game phase. That's just unacceptable. As well, I'm pretty sure I've even opted for level 1 weapons, which I have done. You need to upgrade your infantry as well, even if you're going a mech army. I've done an armory here for the upgrades, though I have not started upgrading yet. I'm probably still in like a semi-panic mode, trying to drastically maintain my macro and everything else. As you can see, our average APMs have risen 10 points since the last time I showed this little graph here. Let's see what he's doing now. He is also expanding to here at the same time. I find in high diamond level play, it all comes down to just constantly expanding as fast as you can, out-expand the other player, but and deny them expansions as well. So he actually sent his SCVs over there too early, so they all are taking the long way to the next command center. He should have just kind of had more control there on that, but I guess that doesn't really matter in the long